What's up guys, Joseph Graff coming at you with another investing video. In today's video we're going to be talking about 3 different portfolios that you could use for the rest of your life. Before we get started though, I want to hit you all with a Lil Uzi Vert quote. He said, "In reality I'm 5'4", stand on my money, now I'm 6'6". This seems like it would take a lot of money to go from being 5'4" to 6'6". So I did the math. If he was to put $100 bills under each of his feet, he would need about $650,000 to make himself about 14 inches taller. So with that fun fact out of the way, let's get it. The other day I was thinking about what I'd tell a new investor if they ask me how they should start investing. I would tell them that there's 2 basic rules to follow. The first is to pick a simple portfolio and stick to it. The second is to invest money on a weekly basis and do so every week indefinitely. For beginning investors, I think M1 Finance is a great platform to do just that. M1 Finance offers fractional shares, which allows you to buy a partial share of a stock or ETF. It also allows you to invest a set amount weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly using their automatic deposits feature. The money that you deposit then is automatically invested into the stocks or ETFs that you have set previously. So for those of you who don't know, the way M1 Finance works is you pick the different investments that you want to own and you allocate a percentage to each of them. And the percentages of all your investments must add up to 100%. So I could put 50% in a Standard & Poor's 500 ETF and then another 50% in a bond ETF. Now every time I would deposit money into that M1 Finance account, M1 would take the money and it would invest half that money into the Standard & Poor's 500 fund and half of that money into that bond fund. So this is one of the things that I really like about M1 Finance. It allows you to dollar cost average over time. By the way, M1 Finance is offering a promotion where if you sign up using my referral link, we both get $20 to invest. So if it's something you've been thinking about, now's a great time to do so. I will include a referral link in the description. So now I'm going to show you 3 investment portfolios, or pies as they're called in M1 Finance, that I think are great portfolios to use potentially for the rest of your life. The reason I like these so much is because they're very low maintenance and historically they have all done pretty well. So the first portfolio that we'll look at is this 3-fund portfolio. Now what this is it's an ETF that tracks the Standard & Poor's 500. Here it's shown as VOO, that's just the Vanguard Standard & Poor's 500 ETF. Then you have an ETF that tracks the stock market outside of the US, so it tracks a lot of foreign companies. Here that's shown as VEU. And lastly, you have a bond fund. You'll notice that I used Vanguard ETFs for all 3 of these. These are 3 really good ETFs because they have a very low expense ratio, which is something to consider when selecting a portfolio that you want to use. So the reason that this strategy is popular is that you have a lot of exposure to the American stock market in your Standard & Poor's 500 fund. So if the stock market goes up, you're going to be able to capture a lot of that growth. Now, on the other hand, you're pretty well diversified because you have an index that tracks foreign stocks, and then for some safety, you also have a bond fund. Now, these weights would probably be best for someone that's like my age that could afford to take a little risk. You'll notice that it is 85% weighted in stocks. Someone who's closer to retirement would probably want to bump up that allocation to the bond ETF and maybe drop down that allocation to each of the stock ETFs. Overall, I really like this portfolio because it's very simple. You have American stock exposure, you have foreign stock exposure, and you have exposure to the bond market. Your exposure to the bond market is going to help you when things are bad, and the rest of the time you're going to be able to capture a lot of gains from your Standard & Poor's 500 ETF and foreign ETF. The next portfolio I'm going to show you all is the Ray Dalio all-weather portfolio. So Ray Dalio is a very successful, famous investor, and he came up with this portfolio that aims to have consistent returns year in and year out. He allocates 40% of the portfolio to U.S. Treasuries that expire in greater than 20 years. He then allocates 30% of the portfolio to the U.S. stock market. He allocates 15% of the portfolio to Treasuries that expire in 3 to 7 years. He allocates 8% of the portfolio to gold and 7% of the portfolio to commodities. From what I can tell, what Ray is trying to do here is capture some of the gains from the U.S. stock market with that 30% allocation to VTI. The allocation to Treasuries is nice because it's going to give you consistent returns on a year in, year out basis. They're not going to be anything flashy or anything excessively high, but they are going to be consistent. He then allocates 8% to gold and 7% to commodities, and I think the reason he advocates for this is because if we were to have a recession, these two ETFs would likely do very well. So it's pretty safe to say that this portfolio is probably the most recession resistant of the three that I'm going to show you all today. So the last portfolio I'm going to show you all today is what I call a diversified dividend portfolio. So I actually created this portfolio myself, and I mainly did it to show you all that it's not that hard to create your own portfolio. So here what I did is I decided to allocate 25% of the portfolio to high dividend stocks. I decided to allocate 25% to other dividend payers, all dividend paying stocks, using the Schwab Dividend Index. I then decided to allocate 20% of the portfolio to a Standard & Poor's 500 fund just to capture some gain. If growth stocks do particularly well one year, I don't want to totally miss out on all that. I then allocated about 20% of the portfolio to foreign stocks, particularly foreign stocks that pay a pretty nice dividend. And then lastly, I allocated about 10% of the portfolio to a bond fund. So kind of the cool thing about this portfolio is it has a 3% dividend yield, which is pretty high compared to the overall U.S. stock market right now. And really the purpose of me showing you all this portfolio is just to show you all that, hey, it's not that hard to create your own portfolio, and really you should just create a portfolio based on whatever you feel is best, whatever fits you best. So if you're someone who really dislikes losing money, and I understand that, we all dislike losing money, but if you're someone who would likely pull all their money out of the stock market if they lost 20%, you might want to go with a more conservative portfolio that might not get you as great of returns, but will not lead to you losing 20% potentially. Whereas on the other side, if you're someone who's willing to take a lot of risk, you might want a little more growth in your portfolio. You might want to own some more growth stocks. So it's really just up to you, whatever fits your investing needs the best. With that, I'm going to show you all how each of these portfolios would have done if you bought them a month ago, a year ago, 3 years ago, or 5 years ago. So the 3-fund portfolio that I talked about first, it would have returned 2.44% over the past month, 21.18% over the past year, 32% over the past 3 years, and close to 43% over the past 5 years. The Ray Dalio all-weather portfolio that I showed you all second would have returned about 1.1% over the past month, 16.29% over the past year, 20.9% over the past 3 years, and 20.5% over the past 5 years. The diversified dividend portfolio that I created and showed you all last would have returned 1.7% over the past month, 17.1% over the past year, 24% over the past 3 years, and 36.6% over the past 5 years. So I want to thank you all for watching today. Like I said, You all should invest in whatever you feel suits you best. I'm not a financial advisor. I make YouTube videos for fun and try to offer the best advice that I have for you all. So keep that in mind. Always make sure you do your own research before investing. And I think I'm going to wrap up the video with that. If you like the video, please hit the like button down below. Please subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you all can get updates for my future videos. And with that, JGraph out.